Welcome back, coin lovers and treasure hunters. Sparkles. Today, we're going to explore the top 4 most valuable Jefferson nickels from the United States of America. These aren't just ordinary 5-cent coins. Some of them are rare error strikes, unique silver wartime nickels, and coins with unusual toning and color shades that collectors are paying top dollar to own. Since 1938, the Jefferson nickel has been an important part of U.S. history, and certain dates and conditions have become major players in collector and investor world. These rare treasures are more than just coins. They're pieces of history, and some of the most valuable nickels that collectors are hunting today. So, if you're a coin enthusiast or someone who appreciates the beauty and significance of American currency, this video is for you. Back-end index pointing right, let's get started with a countdown of the top 4 most valuable Jefferson nickels. Starting with number 1, Rocket. In the vast story of American coinage, few coins capture the imagination like the Jefferson nickel. First minted in 1938 to honor the nation's 3rd president and his Monticello estate, the nickel became one of America's most recognized coins. By the early 1970s, millions were struck at the Denver Mint, and the copper-nickel alloy had become the standard. Yet within the sea of ordinary coins, whispers tell of a silver version struck in 1972, a coin that was never supposed to exist, a coin that could change fortunes overnight. The United States Mint had long abandoned silver for circulating coins by 1972. Rising silver prices in the 1960s made precious metal coinage unsustainable for everyday commerce. Still, errors, experiments, or accidents occasionally left behind coins that defied official policy. A Jefferson nickel struck in silver that year would not simply be rare. It would be an outright anomaly, a piece that should never have seen the light of day. That impossibility makes it the stuff of legend. Denver, marked with a D mint mark, was a powerhouse of production during the 1970s. Billions of nickels poured from its presses. Yet in such a massive operation, it only takes a single mistake, a misplaced planchet, or a deliberate choice to create something extraordinary. The 1972 D silver nickel represents precisely that possibility. A coin born of chance, hidden among millions of ordinary pieces, waiting for sharp eyes to uncover its brilliance. Imagine stumbling across one. At first glance, it looks like any other nickel. Jefferson's profile, Monticello on the reverse, the familiar size and shape. But then you notice the gleam, a brighter, purer shine, unmistakable to anyone familiar with silver. You feel the weight is slightly different. The sound rings sharper when tapped against another coin. In that instant, you realize this is no ordinary piece of change. It is history disguised as pocket money. The Jefferson nickel has always been symbolic of continuity. Unlike other coins that change designs frequently, the Jefferson nickel endured for decades with little alteration. But within that continuity lies the potential for extraordinary breaks in tradition. A 1972 D silver strike represents one of those rare cracks in the system, a moment where ordinary transforms into priceless. For collectors, such anomalies are treasures beyond measure. Rarity is the heartbeat of value in numismatics. And if even a handful of silver 1972 D nickels exist, they are worth millions. Their story makes them desirable not just for their metal, but for their defiance of expectation. They embody mystery. Coins that escape the mint's strict controls. Coins that tell a secret history of experimentation or error. That narrative alone could drive collectors into a frenzy, bidding fortunes for the chance to own one. At an auction, such a coin would not simply sell. It would ignite a storm. Collectors would fight not just with their wallets, but with their pride, eager to claim ownership of a piece that rewrites American coinage history. Headlines would follow. Museums would inquire, and experts would debate its origin endlessly. For the finder, that silver nickel would be a golden ticket to fortune. But wealth is not its only power. The 1972 D silver nickel represents the fragility of the mint's precision and the resilience of human curiosity. It reminds us that even in a world built on uniformity, outliers exist. And sometimes, those outliers carry the weight of destiny. To hold one is to hold proof that miracles can hide in plain sight. The context of 1972 also deepens its allure. America was grappling with economic shifts, political uncertainty, and cultural change. A silver coin struck in defiance of official policy feels symbolic of that era, a moment when tradition and transition collided. In such a climate, the coin becomes more than metal. It becomes a mirror of history itself. Jefferson's profile, steady and wise, only enhances the symbolism. Here is the founding father of American liberty, cast in a metal that had already been stripped from daily coinage. To find him preserved in silver in 1972 is like finding a relic of endurance, a reminder of values too precious to fade completely. If you ever encounter such a coin, never underestimate its power. Do not trade it for pocket change or sell it hastily. It carries not only financial worth, but historical weight. It is the kind of object that could alter your destiny, lifting you from ordinary life into extraordinary fortune overnight. Its value is beyond calculation. It is a power of rarity, history, and myth fused into one. And so the legend of the 1972 D. Silver Jefferson nickel endures. Whether fact, error, or fantasy, it remains one of the most tantalizing stories in numismatics. It teaches us to look closer at the ordinary, to treasure the unexpected, and to believe that fortune may hide in the smallest of places. For those who dream, that little silver coin is not just money, it is magic. Next up, in the story of American coinage, the 1943 S. Jefferson nickel stands out as a silent warrior of World War II, a coin born not just from metal, but from necessity, history, and destiny. Unlike ordinary nickels made from copper and nickel, this one was forged from an alloy of silver, manganese, and copper. Why? Because during the war, nickel was desperately needed for armor plating, weapons, and tanks. And so, the U.S. Mint transformed the humble 5-cent coin into something extraordinary, making the 1943 S.A. treasure of its time. The S. Mint mark, denoting San Francisco, carries an almost mystical charm. San Francisco's mint was smaller in output compared to Philadelphia or Denver, which means fewer coins were struck. Within that limited production lies the seed of rarity. Fewer coins minted, fewer coins surviving, and far fewer in pristine condition. Today, to hold a 1943, S is to hold a relic of wartime sacrifice, a piece of silver once circulating in the hands of ordinary Americans during extraordinary times. When these coins were released, few could have imagined they would one day be worth fortunes. People saw them as everyday money, handed over at gas stations, grocery counters, and train ticket booths. Yet inside every 1943, S was a hidden treasure, real silver at a time when silver was considered too precious for common change. And today, that very metal content, combined with the coin's history, has elevated from pocket change to priceless rarity. The Jefferson nickel design itself adds depth to the story. On the obverse, Thomas Jefferson's steady gaze reflects leadership and endurance, qualities a nation leaned on during World War II. On the reverse, Monticello reminds us of the ideals of democracy and independence, shining brighter than ever in a coin struck with silver. It is as if the mint wanted every American to carry not just a coin, but a piece of the nation's soul in their pocket. Collectors know that rarity is more than numbers. It's about survival. Millions of 1943 S nickels were struck, but few remain untouched by time. War-era coins were spent hard, worn down, and often melted for their silver content in later years. Today, uncirculated examples, glowing with their original luster, command staggering sums in the coin market. A perfect specimen can send collectors into a bidding frenzy, and the right coin can transform its finder into an instant millionaire. But what truly makes the 1943 S unforgettable is its dual story of patriotism and fortune. These coins are living symbols of how America adapted in its darkest hour, reshaping its currency to fuel the war effort. Yet, they also carry the magic of chance. The chance that one may lie hidden in a drawer, a jar, or forgotten box, waiting to reveal its power to change a life forever. Imagine stumbling upon one such coin today. Perhaps it shines differently, its silver glow more radiant than any modern nickel. You flip it over and spot the S mint mark above Monticello, the symbol that confirms it is no ordinary piece. In that moment, history collides with destiny, and your fortune shifts forever. What was once a coin of wartime sacrifice becomes a key to unimaginable wealth. At major auctions, collectors and investors alike eagerly chase this coin. The bidding is fierce, because each collector knows the 1943 S is more than silver. It is a rare story cast in metal. Prices soar into tens of thousands, even higher for pristine conditions. And should an ultra-rare variety or error be discovered, such as double dyes or off-metal strikes, the value becomes astronomical, rivaling even the rarest treasures of American coinage. The San Francisco Mint itself adds mystique. Known for smaller mintages and precision, coins from this facility are often viewed as more collectible. The 1943 S fits that legacy perfectly, while its siblings, the 1943 P and 1943 D, also hold value. The S Mint Mark version is considered the crown jewel of the wartime nickels. Its scarcity, combined with its story, makes it one of the most desirable Jefferson nickels ever struck. The coin is also a reminder of how quickly ordinary objects can transform into vessels of history. What began as a practical adjustment for wartime shortages has become a prize for future generations. The silver in these nickels, once chosen as a substitute, has now become their greatest source of power and prestige. A simple change of alloy turned an everyday nickel into a beacon of wealth and legacy. For those lucky enough to possess one, the 1943 S nickel carries not just financial promise, but historical weight. Selling it too cheaply would be a mistake, for its worth extends far beyond dollars. It is a symbol of resilience, a connection to an era when every citizen contributed to victory, even through their pocket change. And in today's world, it carries the power to elevate an ordinary life into one of sudden riches. So the legend of the 1943 S silver Jefferson nickel lives on, a coin that reminds us of war, sacrifice, and resilience, yet whispers the promise of fortune to anyone who finds it. Among millions of coins, it is a hidden spark, the overlooked treasure, the coin that could turn an unsuspecting finder into a billionaire overnight. To dismiss it as just a nickel would be to ignore its magic. To cherish it, however, is to hold both history and destiny in the palm of your hand. Next up, the year was 1962, a time of both prosperity and unease in America. The nation stood at the edge of technological breakthroughs. The Cold War weighed heavily, and the coinage in people's pockets told quiet stories of resilience and pride. Among them was a Jefferson nickel, struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark. At first glance, it seemed like nothing more than ordinary change. But today, the 1962 Jefferson nickel has emerged as one of those coins whose value can shake the very foundation of fortune when discovered in extraordinary condition or rare variety. This coin was crafted at a time when America still used a traditional copper-nickel alloy, unlike the Silver War nickels of 1942 to 1945. Though it does not contain silver, the 1962 nickel carries immense value because of its scarcity in superb condition and the rarity of certain minting errors. Philadelphia's coins, struck without a mint mark, were released in the millions, but survival in pristine form was shockingly limited. Decades of circulation wore most of them down, leaving very few untouched treasures for collectors today. The obverse, with Felix Schlage's enduring portrait of Thomas Jefferson, reflects not just a third president's wisdom, but also the determination of a nation striving for progress. On the reverse, Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, remains a monument to democracy and American ideals. In 1962, these designs were more than symbols. They were a message carried by every nickel, a reassurance in the hands of millions that America's values were as steady as Jefferson's gaze. But the magic of the 1962 nickel lies in its hidden rarity. Collectors and numismatists today pay staggering sums for examples with deep, sharp strikes and flawless luster. The Philadelphia Mint, known for its massive production, often produced coins with weak details. To find a 1962 nickel where every step of Monticello is crisply defined, a so-called full-step variety, is to uncover a masterpiece of minting perfection. Such coins can bring not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars at auction. And then there are the errors, the slips of history that transform ordinary coins into legends. Some 1962 nickels bear double die obverse, where Jefferson's features or the lettering appear slightly doubled, as if history itself imprinted twice upon the metal. Others exist in off-center strikes or struck on the wrong planchet, Rare accidents that today make them worth small fortunes. These anomalies, born of minting imperfections, are now golden tickets for anyone fortunate enough to uncover one. Imagine the thrill of searching through an old jar of coins left behind by a parent or grandparent and spotting a 1962 nickel with its original shine. At first, you see no mint mark beneath the Monticello. Proof it came from Philadelphia. Then, as you tilt it to the light, you notice the brilliance, the flawless surfaces, the clarity of Monticello's steps. Suddenly, you realize you are not holding just a coin. You are holding a key to unimaginable fortune. This coin tells a story not only of monetary value, but also of survival. Millions were minted, but few escaped the everyday wear of commerce. They passed through gas stations, diners, and movie theaters during an age when a nickel still bought something tangible. Most were spent to the point of exhaustion, their features fading with time. But those that survived, those rare, untouched gems, now command respect and staggering prices in the numismatic world. The 1962 Jefferson nickel also reflects a fascinating transitional period in U.S. coinage history. Just 3 years later, in 1965, silver disappeared from U.S. dimes, quarters, and half dollars. The 1962 nickel stands as one of the last coins struck before the great shift in America's money system, a coin bridging the golden age of traditional alloys and the modern era of cost-saving compositions. In hindsight, it is a survivor of a chapter just before everything changed. At auctions today, the 1962 nickel, in full steps condition, is a star. Collectors bid with passion, knowing that such pieces appear only rarely. Prices soar as the bidding escalates. And for the winner, the coin is not just a collectible but a treasure of history. One coin, pulled from obscurity, can be valued like a fine jewel, making its possessor wealthy beyond imagination. But the legend of the 1962 nickel is not just about wealth. It is about mystery, fate, and discovery. Somewhere in old rolls of nickels tucked away in basements, in dusty coin jars, or in forgotten boxes, lies a chance to uncover one of these priceless pieces. Each coin carries a whisper of fortune, waiting for the right hands to reveal its power. And so, the 1962 Jefferson nickel, plain to the untrained eye, yet extraordinary to those who know, lives on as a symbol of fortune hidden in plain sight. To sell it hastily would be to dismiss its magic. To recognize it is to grasp the possibility of overnight transformation, the kind of destiny-shaping discovery that could turn an ordinary life into a story of wealth and triumph. In the end, the 1962 no-mint marked Jefferson nickel is more than a coin. It is history pressed into metal, a monument to Jefferson, a relic of a changing America, and a treasure that could rewrite your fortune forever. It reminds us that in the world of coins, the smallest details, a mint mark, a strike, a shine, can hold the greatest rewards, waiting to reveal themselves to the watchful eye and the lucky hand. Next up, the year 1963 was a moment suspended in history. America stood proud, riding waves of prosperity and innovation, yet quietly bracing for monumental change. In the hands of everyday citizens, jingling in pockets and purses, the Jefferson nickel carried a silent message of national endurance. Among these coins was a 1963 Philadelphia issue, struck without a mint mark, a coin that first seemed so ordinary yet has since grown into a legend whispered through the halls of numismatics. Unlike its wartime predecessors from 1942 to 1945, the 1963 nickel was not minted with silver. Instead, it bore the trusted copper-nickel alloy that had become the standard. Still, its absence of precious metal did not diminish its future power. In fact, its value today lies in something even more rare than silver: flawless preservation, era varieties, and scarcity of condition. What most people dismissed as pocket change 60 years ago has become a potential golden ticket for those wise enough to recognize its hidden brilliance. On its obverse, Thomas Jefferson's portrait, sculpted by Felix Schlag, gazes forward with steadfast resolve. It was more than just a presidential profile. It was the embodiment of Enlightenment ideals, democracy, and resilience. On the reverse, Monticello stands tall, the Virginia home of Jefferson, engraved as though it were a national shrine in miniature. The artistry of this design meant that each coin carried a story deeper than commerce. It carried the soul of America's third president. But what makes the 1963 no-mint marked Jefferson nickel truly special is not simply its design. It is its rarity in top condition. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of these coins, but weak strikes and heavy circulation wore down their features quickly. Today, finding a piece with Monticello steps sharply defined, known as the full steps variety, is like discovering buried treasure. Collectors around the world compete fiercely for such gems, driving prices into thousands and sometimes far higher at auction. Beyond condition rarity, heirs elevate the 1963 nickel into a league of its own. Some coins emerge from the mint with double dies, their lettering or Jefferson's profile subtly duplicated like an echo frozen in metal. Others were struck off-center, leaving a crescent of blank space, or mistakenly struck on the wrong planchet, turning them into one-of-a-kind rarities. These oddities, born from minting accidents, now fetch sums that could transform a coin jar discovery into life-changing wealth. Picture for a moment opening a forgotten box of coins left behind by your grandparents. Amidst the tarnished copper and dull silver, a nickel glints differently. You turn it over, noticing no mint mark, Philadelphia. You tilt it toward the light, and the steps of Monticello gleam with perfect clarity. Your heartbeat quickens, for you are not holding just 5 cents. You are holding a fortune disguised as ordinary change. What amplifies the mystique of the 1963 Jefferson nickel is the historical timing of its release. It was one of the last years before the great coinage revolution of 1965, when silver vanished from dimes, quarters, and half dollars. The 1963 nickel is a reminder of an era before that transformation, when America's coinage still clung to the traditions of earlier decades. It serves as a bridge between stability and upheaval, a symbol of a nation on the cusp of reinvention. Auction houses today know the fire these coins ignite. When a pristine 1963 nickel crosses the block, collectors lean forward, eyes gleaming, paddles ready. Prices climb, voices intensify, and in the end, the winner often leaves with not just a coin but with history captured in metal. To the untrained eye, it is a nickel worth 5 cents. To the numismatist, it is a crown jewel capable of commanding staggering wealth. And so the 1963 Jefferson nickel becomes a parable of discovery. Somewhere in circulation, in dusty drawers and forgotten rolls of bank-wrapped coins, it waits. It waits for the lucky finder who recognizes its brilliance, who understands that value is not always obvious, and that fortune often hides in the smallest of details. This coin story reminds us that rarity is not always about scarcity of numbers, but scarcity of condition and perfection. Millions may exist, yet only a handful survive in mint-state brilliance with full steps. That delicate balance between common and rare is what gives the 1963 nickel its magnetic allure, transforming it into a prize worth pursuing with fervor. For those who stumble upon one, the lesson is clear. Never dismiss the power of the past. What appears to be a simple nickel may carry within it the power to change your destiny. Selling it hastily would be a mistake, for the true value lies in patience, recognition, and appreciation of its history. In the end, the 1963 no-mint marked Jefferson nickel is not merely a coin. It is a talisman of American heritage, a time capsule of a pivotal era, and a vessel of fortune waiting to be unlocked. It proves in the grand theater of history, even the smallest actors, a 5-cent piece, can hold the power to rewrite your future overnight.